Okay, welcome everybody. So we do have quorum. We have some missing people, and I'm expecting some of them will arrive, as we start, but, it is 2 minutes after, so we will get started. And I will start with the land acknowledgement. The Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority respectfully acknowledges that the land on which we gather is situated within the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas and Chippewas of the Nunishmabek, known today as the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our work on these lands acknowledges their resilience and their longstanding contribution to the area. We are thankful for the opportunity to live, learn, and share with mutual respect and appreciation. And I'll ask for any disclosures of pecuniary interest. None were received, and I'm seeing none. And next is the minutes of the last meeting of September 28th.
So moved.
Moved by Randy, seconded by Adam. Any discussion? No. Did you have a question, Joan?
Yeah, I've got this bar across here. I hope it's, let me see if I can make it bigger there. I just wondered if there was an update on the Covert Conservation Area update. CAO Secretary Treasurer reported to the Board of Directors. I was wondering if there was any update that was going to be reported back to October 16th meeting.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I have no further report. My understanding is they will be discussing this at their October 29th meeting. So I have nothing to report. It will probably go to the November meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Any other questions or comments about the meeting minutes from last month? Okay, so I'll call all in favor. And that's carried unanimously. And next is the adoption of today's agenda. Moving a seconder for that. Moved by Tracy. Seconded by Adam. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's also carried unanimously. Business arising from minutes, none. Delegations, none. And next is presentations, GRCA project. We have
Ian, yes.
Ian will present for us.
You want, oh, what's there? Do you want to come to this side?
Should I stand?
You can stand wherever you want. Yeah, they're pretty good about it. And if you see somebody come in at the top, just let them in.
Okay, good.
Do me a favor, Ian, just make sure that everybody online can see that.
Everybody see the full title page online?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Sometimes we have glitches here, but I knew with you, we wouldn't simply or the You're the computer guy.
Hey, Madam Chair, fellow board members, thank you for the opportunity to share some work today. Some relatively new stuff, but kind of a modernization of our remote sensing program. And a little bit of some new partnerships we've been forming and that have been coming pretty fast and furious for the last year. This work we've been building with myself, Jeff Moxley's our IT, and I am GIS IT coordinator and Corey Harris, Watershed Services coordinator. And I will take you on the journey.
Oh, you got to turn that on. I don't have a turn on.
Yeah, it's probably easier, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so geospatial artificial intelligence. This is technology that we've been playing with and using piecemealing projects here and there for about the last 10 years or so. It's kind of been a private interest of mine that I had access to certain things in college way back before the AI revolution was coming. But I hope to dispel or at least define how we use AI as in addition, like separate from the whole existential stress of what AI is to the world. We use it for machine learning and deep learning. I'll go through the processes high level that we use, but it's not the same as your chat GPTs or your other things like that. So it's very specific to what we do here in-house. So specifically geospatial artificial intelligence is at the intersection of GIS, imagery, spatial data, and artificial intelligence. Excuse me. So this quick definition is GIS, or Geographic Information Systems, is a technology that collects, stores, analyzes, and displays geospatial or geographic data. Imagery, spatial data is the data that it's displaying, and imagery can be from a plane, from a satellite, it can be visible optical light, or it can be near infrared, it can be radar. But we use all those for remote sensing. And artificial intelligence is just simply put technology that enables computers or machines to simulate human learning. Not replace, but simulate pieces of it. Remote sensing, we've been doing this with the GRCA for about 15 years now. And we've been building this program mainly in the early days through the flood mapping programs that are available. But simply put, remote sensing is acquiring information of an object without actually physically touching it. So it could be, it's your eyes, it can be a camera, it can be a radar satellite in space. And there's various principles of spectroscopy where we can tell what something is made out of just by the light that's being returned. And it's the same principles that are used in astronomy, that we can tell what a certain star is made out of, that's billions of light years away, that we can see, we can read the light, interpret it with sensors and divide it up and start to differentiate between different makeups and atomic structures. Excuse me. So remote sensing provides the fundamental data that serves conservation authority business areas. Floodplain mapping and management is one of the big ones, but many others, groundwater, watershed biology, planning, regulation, and all that. So remote sensing essentially it can be images, or it can be 3D models, or anything in between. So there's a lot of different directions we can go with. I can say about maybe 15 years ago, these presentations were a lot simpler, but things have gotten a lot more complicated, which is good. It's good stuff. So, but yeah, our key data partners here at the GRCA is the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources, the Canadian Space Agency, and the European Space Agency. The OMNR provides us and all conservation authorities with 5-year refreshed ortho imagery data plus near infrared. So it's what you can see, plus just outside of the visible spectrum. Near infrared light is, again, invisible to the human eye, but it can be, it tells a lot about vegetation health, species identification, and so forth. So it's something that we get with the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources program. I sit on the steering committee that oversees these missions and stuff, but that's a huge part of it, is to have all that rich data for us, which is now wholly funded by the province, which is also good. So Canadian Space Agency runs the RadarSat program, which is synthetic aperture radar, which Canada had a vested interest in because it's very good at mapping ice, and our sovereignty in the Arctic definitely has a deep defense role. But it also is good for measuring soil moisture and other stuff that's a lot more within the Conservation Authority realm. So remote sensing and GOI at the GRCA. It's a very, GOI, the way we use it, is very good at sifting through massive amounts of data. Remote sensing acquisitions, like one LiDAR scene can have trillions of points that we have to then filter through. And we're really good at getting non-ground features off of the ground and have a smooth ground-only surface. I think of it as a Mars surface. So it has, you can blend in bathymetry, have a 3D model of a water course, sewed together with a terrain model for the ground as well. But so yeah, like remote sensing, imagery stacks, LiDAR, it's all very large data sets, and GOAI is just a very efficient way of combing through data and being able to extrapolate and finding meaning in the data. So for the longest time, humankind is really good at, like, the information age has been going on since Microsoft came out, like really good at getting information, but sifting through it and making it useful is something that we're still catching up on. So and these satellites and planes are returning gobs of data a second from space and everything. So it's just it's this whole rich data stacks that have been compiled over the years. We use the latest and greatest for our flood maps and a lot of our underground analyses that we serve the public today. But we can go back in time to other vintages and start to pull things out using GOAI to detect change over time, to see how the landscape has been changing, natural processes, anything you want to explore from an environmental standpoint, it's possible. So that's something that I've been really looking forward to. Like anybody, you kind of, when AI starts to kind of come out, I gave a guest lecture at U of T the day that they launched the AI program at U of T. And it was a big exciting thing. That was maybe 10 years ago now. So I knew it was coming, and I had been like flipping through books on the side and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, a couple years ago, it's like, wow, it's gonna hit the road. And then I had to really get to work on the weekend and everything like that. But it was nice to get when we get funded work, you can do it at work. So we brought that in.
Can I ask what slide you're on? Because it's not coming through. All I have is 1, 2, and 3. It's not showing. I just have the main one here. So I don't really know what slide you're on. And if you could just slow down a bit, that would be great. Thank you.
I can slow down. It says it's slide number 4, and at the top it says remote sensing and GOAI at the GRCA.
We had this problem last month, Ian, too. So
Yeah, I don't see that slide.
So, and nobody else sees that slide?
The
So-
presentation isn't going through. It's just stopped
So
at
what
1,
we
2,
had to
3.
do was we had to go out and go back in all the time.
Like that.
Yeah, and then go in. Just
Oh,
go to the next slide.
okay, I'm on 4. I can see 4 now.
Okay, you see that?
Did it change? Can you see case study number 1?
Yep.
Yeah.
See
Oh.
number 4, yep.
No, but do you see now case study number 1?
No,
Yes. That's on slide 5.
yes.
There we
Yeah.
go.
We have to keep going in there for everyone.
Yeah, you might have to.
I can see that.
Oh, is there anybody trying to get in up at the top? Yeah, can you admit Willie? But Mark can't get in? I don't know why he can't get in.
Can we send him an invite directly from here?
We can probably continue.
Wanna continue?
I can ask a question.
Continue.
Is there anybody that had any questions? You had a question?
Right. So just pop in and out as I change it.
I think so. Yeah.
Remember the hotkey for
Not sure.
If you highlight over top, it might just be the hotkey.
Yeah.
Nothing.
These are just some, just a couple case studies or a collection of projects that we've used GeoAI on in the past. What it can offer is, for a small municipality that I didn't talk to them before I gave this presentation, so I'm gonna name them. But we did some work with them to update data for their official plans. And they wanted watershed delineation wetland delineation, and we went into the wetlands. And we were successfully able to delineate between swamp and marsh. So we pushed the technology to the point where it would give us everything it could, and it very delightfully gave us 2 categories of wetland, which is a function of statistics, but we always like to push technology as far as we can go. And it also does impervious surface mapping, so which increases the validity of hydrology and hydraulic modeling. So in that municipality, this was the old M&R base data that was well out of date, but also even when it was produced at a much lower resolution, so as to not be incredibly useful in terms of getting the accuracy and the validity to inform official plan updates. And we were able to go into that same scene and delineate the wetlands based on the latest data that was available. And you can see, if I can't toggle between the two, but given how the thing's behaving right now, but there were areas that were designated as wetland where houses had been built. So obviously things hadn't been up to date. And there were also areas that just couldn't be explained as to why it was a wetland in the first place. The small village, we were doing some flood mapping. In order to do flood mapping, we have to do hydrology models before we do hydraulic models, and the hydrology models effectively model the water as it runs over the surface of a land into the channel. And once it gets into the channel, hydraulic models take over. But in order to tell how quickly water will run to a channel, you have to figure out the texture of the ground. So water will run through a parking lot a lot quicker than it'll run through a field or something like that, right? So these are taken into account in our hydrology models, but with the importance of floodplain mapping and the severity of events that we're seeing more and more of due to climate change, it's increasingly more important to get these models as tight as possible. So we were able to, a lot of regions have
Speaker
You've
over
got,
here.
you've got an invite to accept.
Oh, is he there, Mark Lotion?
looks like a minute.
It should. You should be going.
So we were able to extract impervious surfaces using GeoAI from ortho imagery for the small village for the purposes of doing flood mapping. Floodplain models, there's increasing need to model the lesser events, the sub 100-year events, so the 50 to 25 to 10 for various reasons. So with this stuff, you can get a lot more sensitive with your model. So a lot of regions say we have 30% impervious surface. But when you want to put in a model that has a spatial component to it, that doesn't really do you much good, because an effect could be different from one end to the other, and it could be significant. Especially, increasingly so given climate change. We've done some work in the past with urban forestry. We've done this with Ontario imagery strategy data, so that 5-year refresh data with the near infrared, also with provincially produced LiDAR data. All this stuff is for free now, so it's excellent. This is the potential that we have to do here. Urban forest canopy delineation for multi-year aerial and biomass analyses. And the city wanted to know how much tree canopy they were losing. This is as far as I get into the forestry side, but how much they're losing. And also to do analyses as a function of, or as age as a function of height. And then where the trees are being lost, so they could strategize how to replace them, like in what way, and how much they could do in certain areas, whether it's municipal owned or they have to work with, design the programs and stuff like that. So we were able to compare 3 different vintages of orthos, and we were able to, I think it was 3.4% loss in, no, 6.4% loss in 6 years, I think it was. Which didn't shock them, but it was high, and they were in a bit of a bylaw bind in terms of they kind of went too far one way, kind of like treating Dandruff with decapitation kind of thing, so they had to come back from that and find a sweet spot where the local citizens were happy with how they were running the tree canopy program. And I live in this city and I read the paper and I haven't read about it since, so it seems like it helped them out. But yeah, it's a way of understanding the urban forestry in a much more surgical manner. So this is just a little glimpse inside of the software. The first cut is to do a cursory delineation or segmentation, it's called. So to do kind of a rough, based on just color, bust up features. So one tree might have, or one tree stand may have many. And one's like one part can be a certain type of green, the other one can be shadowed, it's under the other's type of green. So you have to get into the stats and it's an iterative process to dial in these methods. We've developed automated things to do this with, so it speeds it up a fair amount. The other interesting thing is that it takes into consideration shape and size and convexity and stuff like that. Because this software was originally developed to detect cancer cells in mammalian tissue. So some Steve Jobs type took it, pointed at the earth and said, well, I can do this too. So This came out a while ago, like when I was just finishing college and I was fascinated by it. It was just amazing, like coming from such a different developmental angle than the traditional software. So that's the segmentation stage. And then you can delineate and extract the features that you're really looking for. So what that is are the tree features in that neighborhood. Then we're able to put old over new, and the oldest model that we did is the red. And it's underneath the green, which is the newest. So you can see wherever you see red is where trees have been lost, and they can start to strategize where it's been lost, who owns the land, what kind of programs they can run. And again, it's a function of, since we have the ladder, we do height above earth, and they can do a rough deduction of age of growth. So that was the work we did there with GRCA. And then last year and this year, we were successful in pounding the pavement to get some funding for this stuff. So we're able to focus on it a lot more exclusively instead of just as a little piecemeal program and stuff like, or in projects and everything to actually have a program. So we were lucky enough to get in contact with folks at the Legacy Project. That's founded by Brian Pupa and Susan Bozak. And they are a non-government entity that's looking to create a regenerative finance initiative aimed at creating a system level funding ecosystem within what they call the GTB. We're defining it as the greater Takarano bioregion, Takarano being the original Ganaraska word for Toronto, which means where there are trees standing in the water. The GRCA, upon meeting with the Legacy Project, and they're really getting the stuff off the ground, we positioned ourselves to serve as the geospatial data commons driven by the remote sensing GOI we've been developing, which will serve to identify and model sites in need of regenerative work as they go out and try to attract more partners to fund this work. So we were able to secure funding from the Novo Foundation, which was founded by Peter Buffett, who's Warren Buffett's son, and they're based out of New York. And the Peter Gilligan Foundation, that's the Mattamy Homes philanthropy wing, I guess, and we're able to get some funding for them to start it up, and then we actually have verbal confirmation on one of them that that's going to continue, but we need to get ready. So, when I was asking my members today, I was like, oh no, the signature. But it's all promising, it's all great stuff. So yeah, the 7-generation GTB, seven generations being a common indigenous, every decision should be made, thinking informed by 7 years and going into the past, or 7 generations going to the past, and to plan for 7 generations going into the future. So, and the GTB is nestled Golden Horseshoe essentially around Lake Ontario within the Great Lakes Basin, but the idea is like eventually to expand this throughout the Great Lakes Basin. So when opportunity knocks, we wrote a proposal and we were successful, and that's the title page. So that shows the fuzzy, they call it fuzzy boundary because, as business partnerships start to develop, you're not going to limit it geospatially. So it's kind of the CA boundary going around, but it's not limited to. And it takes it all the way simple as well. Okay, so a bioregion. Simply put, as bio means life and region means place. So this is all about life in place, of which humans are part of it. So it's about how the local ecosystem supports life and how life serves the local ecosystem. Everything's connected to everything else. So it's an understandable scale at which we can be more aware of and live into the interrelatedness of all life around us. The largest physical boundaries, a bioregion is the largest physical boundary where connections based on that place will make sense, defined along watershed and hydrological boundaries. This concept was developed in South America and the United States, but if you take just this bullet right here, that's what conservation authorities do. We've been doing since the 40s, right? So we were uniquely positioned to take advantage of this, and they identified that as such, and they approached us, and we were the ones that ran with it the most here at the GRCA. So the bioregion is also the small scale that reflects planetary processes. You can see the nested graphic here, plot of land, how it's connected ecologically, the holistic landscape within its where it exists, and then the planetary processes that link it to the rest of the Earth. So this is the Greater Tuckerama bioregion, all the conservation authorities that are within it. We are one of 13 that are currently within these discussions. And we are developing methods and wise practices to roll out this work across the GTB in the years ahead. So our grant proposal, which is about a 5+ year plan, is to get enough money that we can get some, like with AI, you need a lot of training data. So we want to take advantage of the CA's rich history of ecological surveys and stuff like that, the stuff that's been done here, the stuff that's been done on other conservation authorities. So the idea is to have us host and run the data commons and have field staff get some funding to go out to field staff to all CAs to be able to go out and grab the training data that's needed, as well as sift through their history of data and stuff, and then we'll start to build out plans from there. So we've talked to a couple of CAs, and we're just trying to figure out how best to roll this out, and you know, depending on how much money we're able to get, how quickly, but we are ramping it up this year and next for sure. So yeah, just for 2025, I guess just kind of like a summation of this year, which is a whirlwind, was we established the funding agreements with these philanthropists. The design and implementation of the first iteration of GOAM models. We conducted land cover summer survey and currently building out the IM and IT hardware framework as we move forward. It's kind of a moving goalpost. Jeff Moxley, our IT coordinator, is having fun trying to keep up with the technology and the system we need to design. So, but the money's in and going all forward. Very much a part of this and very much central to this is a concept known as two-eyed seeing. It is a framework for bringing together knowledge systems grounded in common Indigenous understandings of the gift of multiple perspectives. A process through which the strengths of Indigenous knowledges are seen through one eye and the strengths of Western knowledges through the other. What you see here is known as the two-row wampum. It was established between the Haudenosaunee and early settlers, and it represents the two shared paths. One is the path of the canoe, and one is the path of the sailboat, and how the reciprocal relationship that was intended in the spirit of the trees in the beginning were so as to not interfere with each other and live side by side peacefully. So this is representative of what we're trying to get to and what's at the very core of what we're doing with this project. We have been very fortunate and privileged to have partnered up with Dr. Dan Longboat at Trent University. He's the associate professor of the Cheney-Wenjack School for Indigenous Studies at Trent University, founding director of Indigenous Environmental Science Studies program, as well as the acting director of Indigenous Environmental Institute. Dan Longboat is a rock star in his role. He is an excellent man. He's hilarious. He's really good to get along with, and we're both big into lacrosse, so we bonded on that level for sure. So, but we just met last week. He's on sabbatical to do this work with us. He has a team of research assistants. We're able to get some funding for them to work collaboratively with our GRCA staff to explore the two-eyed seeing concept. And in joking, you know, he likes to make the joke that we're bringing together both the ancestral intelligence and the artificial intelligence. So we're very fortunate. Dan's an excellent guy, and it's gonna be fun. We know as much of what we're gonna do as we don't know. That's the best part, because it's gonna be guided by students that are really passionate with this stuff, and our staff is definitely up to the task. And then one last funding program that's linked to this is we had a federal research and development grant from Natural Resources Canada. I'm sure every municipality in our watershed has been served by the flood hazard identification and mapping program, whether it be risk assessment or flood mapping updates, what have you. It is. I should have, yeah, it's the FIMP, like FISHIMP. Sorry, I didn't put it next to the title up there, but we call it the FIMP program. It's been running since 2021, but it's a natural continuation of the National Disaster Mitigation Program from 2015 to 2022, which we also took advantage of, and the Flood Disaster Reduction Program from 1976 to roughly 96. Basically the 80s, but 96, they technically like to say. You know, there was an effort to boost technical understanding to support the core FIMP program. Our research-based regional modeling stream was launched in 2024. And we applied for funding through that to apply GOAI to figure out ways to model and map flood flood inundation areas that are not easy to get to and are in what are known as data scarce regions. So there are, through the European Space Agency and the Canadian Space Agency, there is coverage across the globe and definitely across Canada for remote sensing data that can be used to do some sort of regional modeling. It can't replace the on-the-ground surveying and the boots on the ground, but if you can look at a regional scale and say that we can develop this model that will allow flood mapping to occur there, that's the holy grail that we're going for. So this is 2-year funding at least. And we're working with their own GOAI department at Natural Resources Canada. We have an ongoing vetted level security relationship with the Canadian Space Agency, so we're going to continue to work with them as well. And use some radar sat into it as well. So essentially it's like nobody left behind. Through the available global satellite data it will be the backbone of this. And yeah, we're just working to get this going. So just in closing, these are kind of the 3 pillars we've identified and designed our system around. GRCA GOAI is very efficient. It's exponentially faster than manual digitizing of features, especially for, the size of Canada. Consistent source data coverage, so standardized ortho and LiDAR data sets across CA boundaries within a given jurisdiction. That's very much focused on the GTV, but also consistent source data from the various space agencies that have come together to enable this work to occur. And number 3, and probably the most important, is that the deep learning models can be run on new acquisitions as well as older acquisitions. And it can be repeatable across different areas and within the same area. So the scientific validity is pretty tight that way. So those are the 3 pillars that we're really making sure we shore up all 3 in terms of how we're building this program. And quickly, just acknowledgements. Thank you to all our partners. We have the 3 current funding partners at the top: the NOVA Foundation, Peter Gilligan Foundation, and the Government of Canada. We have the special partnership with Dan Longboat and his team at Trent University. We have Brian Cooper and Susan Bosak at the Legacy Project, and then our principal data providers are the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources, Canadian Space Agency, who just came out with a cool new logo. I didn't know that until today. And ESA, the European Space Agency. Bring the closing. And our own namesake, which Ganaraska is a Cayuga word, which means where the fish spawn. This was a settlement, a Haudenosaunee settlement, pre-contact, as well as other ones across the south shore of or north shore of Lake Ontario. So.
Thank you. That was great.
Karen, ready to some questions if anybody has any?
Thank you very much. That's excellent. So can we see
Can you, minimize that and so we can see the people online that want to ask questions? I see we have some questions.
give us 1 minute? I can't see everybody. That's the thing. I can't see.
Maybe, can you stop sharing?
Stop sharing and then it will take up the screen. There you go.
Perfect.
Oh, there we go. Okay, well, thank you very much, Ian. That was fantastic. So I'll open up for questions and I see Tracy right in the middle there has a question.
Feel like I'm on the Brady Bunch here. Hello, everybody.
I just think the same thing.
Great presentation. GOAI, something like you just, it's evolving so quickly and, you read on it constantly trying to keep up. And also congratulations on your funding. Maybe just one quick question or an observation. With all these storms that we've been having in the last few years, do you feel like this tool might be helpful with preventative maintenance and like help us determine the hardest hit areas? I'm just making reference to the storm we had in May 2020 with the Direcco that went through the Ganaraska forest. And I like that you expose like tree strategies, right? To show where trees have been down or where you need to replace. I'm just wondering if this could be a tool that we can use when it comes to these emergency type of situations.
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, absolutely. The data that's in focusing on the satellite-based stuff from the European Space Agency and well, in particular, but also Canadian Space Agency, we can go back to specific dates, and not every place is captured every day. But if there's an event that's happened, we can do like a post hoc, post-mortem, if that's an okay term to use, to determine the damage that's been done, how many trees been felled, all that stuff can be derived through remote sensing, absolutely. Real time, or at least near real time monitoring is getting closer and closer. The RadarSat Constellation mission, the current one, has a pretty good refresh rate that we could probably get in and get, if not at peak flood, you know, around the same time as a peak flood, and see some actual observed data during that event. But certainly for like felled trees and everything, that's what we use in the forest to help do some of the trail redesign options and stuff too. So yeah, absolutely.
Great, thank you. It's like, it's just more like prevents costly service disruptions, right? Just use it a little bit differently. Thank you for that answer.
Thank you. And I see Mark has a question.
Sorry I was late for the meeting. I just couldn't get into the meeting for some reason, but a quick question, and maybe you've answered it before I got to the meeting, was dealing with some of the streams that are no longer have a lot of water, or maybe they're seasonal type streams. Some of our planning now involves archaeology studies now, and their distance from streams and so forth. Will this help eliminate some of those streams, or make them, whether they're in use or not in use? Because some of them are just tributaries that may only run for a month of the year from farm fields, for instance.
Yeah, I not like speaking generically, I guess, to that is the best I can answer it. Is this stuff does support hydrology models, which we use to determine how water runs over the surface and how often it does too. So, top of my head, if you couple that with like soil moisture data from RadarSat, you could get a pretty good understanding of how that stream behaves.
Okay. Yeah, it's just, there is a cost to those archaeology studies, and it'd be nice if they could be eliminated if they're not, those streams aren't prominent anymore, or were never prominent to begin with. They were just seasonal type streams. So thank you for your answer for that one.
Any other questions? Willie? Okay, Willie?
Oh, and Joan does too.
Yeah, now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was stuck like Mark in cyberspace, but I'm glad I was on there, and unfortunately I didn't catch all of the presentation from Ian, but want to thank you for your thorough presentation from what I heard. Now, you did mention, and you gave a lot of credit to the NOVA Foundation, and obviously, I mean, I think some people are aware of Warren Buffett, certainly his son Peter Buffett, and Peter Gilligan, I should say, of Matabee Homes, Dr. Dan Longboat with Trent University. Now, can you tell me more about Brian Pupa and Susan Bozak of the Legacy Project? Because it sounds like they did a lot, and I don't know if they were the ones that wrote the grant submission to the NOVA Foundation for the remote sensing and geospatial artificial intelligence. So I sort of want to recognize them, because at the end, their names did not pop up.
Well, through you, Madam Chair, I had their logo on the acknowledgements and at the end as well. But yeah, I can answer that. They have been working at this for a while, developing this legacy project initiative and looking at alternate forms of what they call PANDO funding, so a systemic level funding network in the GTB to focus on regeneration work, to bring different philanthropy bodies in to raise money for that. They had reached out to conservation authorities, identifying like our unique, the fact that we follow all the principles that they want to adhere to, and they seemed to be, trying to figure out how they could crack this thing open. And we were talking about creating a data commons and developing remote sensing and GeoAI technologies to get funding to then be able to prioritize and identify areas for regeneration. Now, the software doesn't say this is where we have to go next, but you can understand that it plays into the business political considerations. But no, that's their background is philanthropy, and Susan's actually a published author. But they relied on us for all the remote sensing and GeoAI expertise, and we wrote that proposal ourselves.
Thank you very much, Ian, for what we have to work with. You do a fantastic job, and you and the others that are involved. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then Joan, I think you had a question?
I just wanted to pass on my kudos to the team there, because this is such a win for the Ganaraska area and all the partners that are coming in. It's just fantastic. One of the, and it's probably a bit of a side note, but when you were talking about the urban forest, that is something I really perked my interest, because there is a lot of subdivisions coming into Grafton area, and we need to be looking at the urban forest part of it. So I'll be really interested in information coming through on that, as well as what trees aren't going to get targeted by a bug. So I'm like, the emerald ash got taken out. So would that also look into projections like that of what would be the best trees to plant in these urban areas?
Through you, Madam Chair, it could definitely assist with that. From as you like the example that I provided for the like showing where things were coming down or trees were coming down, and trying to deduce the height, like the age from height. Those are things that came from just multiple meetings with a forester, them saying, this is what I want, and then like us kind of meeting in the middle and saying, well, this is what we can do. The city that we did that in, I will say, has leaf on LiDAR. Most LiDAR is captured leaf off because it's used for purposes of modeling the ground. And in leaf off conditions, which would be the spring and fall, typically the fall for LiDAR in Ontario, that's when LiDAR is captured the most. But if LiDAR is captured with leaf on in the summer, that's what really unlocks the capabilities of using LiDAR in conjunction with the imagery to do detailed urban forestry assessments. I don't have any shares in any companies, but I think that if a lot of us got together, or multiple municipalities got together, we could bring the cost way down and potentially explore doing an acquisition in the summer for leaf on LiDAR. So that would be what would really unlock that. But the questions, the issues you've raised, I've definitely heard, and I can't pretend to be a forester, but it's definitely something that we're interested in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Miriam.
Yes, I'd like to say that I was gobsmacked by that presentation, like brilliant. Look forward to its future. I wanted to share just further to the forest, the canopy, etc. I attended a webinar earlier this year hosted by the Suzuki Foundation, and there were municipal staff, cities mostly across Canada that assessed the urban forest tree species, plugged in climate change, you know, what species would be more tolerant, et cetera. You might know all of that already, but it was a fascinating a program. And I just wanted to leave a thought, probably, you know, you're already aware of this, the staff, but as a municipal representative, elected representative, I have been very vocal and active in promoting natural infrastructure as part of asset management. I think in the long term, you know, we don't want to keep raising taxes, but one of the benefits of being very, very aware of our natural infrastructure is to plan ahead and to ensure not just access to green spaces for everyone in an urban setting, but also that we can develop resiliency and sustainability through, you know, as we develop. So that's where I'm coming from. And yeah, woohoo! I love this. I feel like I was at a buffet table. I'm like, get more. Thank you.
If I could, Madam Chair, I was just gonna say that the big kind of dream I have is to be able to look at how things have changed over time. And then you can see how things are evolving due to climate change and what species to expect to be more like to thrive further instead of just having your like it's so essentially we have the greenhouse gas emissions, modeling and all that stuff, but we have a geospatial component to that.
Mhm.
And that's what excites me the most. I think.
Great.
So,
Randy?
Yes, you, Madam Chair, as a guy who considers himself roadkill on the information highway. I'm fascinated by this and I've taken some courses on AI, so it's gradually creeping in, but. You spoke so much about various, information buckets that you can go to, and I see a tremendous amount of storage someplace, and I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit about how that's stored and how it's protected and et cetera, et cetera. Thanks.
Through Madam Chair, excellent point. That's a huge consideration on how we're doing this stuff. Lot of data. We've gotten a lot of funding to boost our IT infrastructure. And again, Jeff and I have dancing this waltz as we design this thing of how to cost it and how to plan. But it's gonna all be stored on premises. All production will be done on premises. So we're not at the behest of like a server meltdown somewhere else or some other type of industry movement, which is the biggest thing right now with all the the rapid development of the industry. To your point on the privacy, as a GIS professional, I've taken many courses on how to handle species at risk data, stuff like that, stuff that's sensitive that isn't a good idea to get out there exact word, like fishing spots, like you don't want everybody to know where, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. But it becomes like a super heightened level of security when you're working with indigenous groups and to build that trust and to be able to handle their data. And to have that trust of like what they want to get out of it. And Dr. Demon-has been exceptional with that. We've had really good conversations with students and consultants on their end as well in terms of how to build that trust face to face, and then how to show that like all data is gonna be on premises. The only thing that goes off premises, and I had to look at this thoroughly because I tell someone, you know, to their face that we can do this, is our server taps a server in Toronto just to say that we still have a license to run our thing. So no data goes out. We have ways of disseminating data. I look forward to sharing apps with the board and the public and everything on showing some of this stuff as it comes out. We're a couple of years down the road of final products coming out. But that's definitely a huge consideration that we take seriously.
Okay, and then so I guess just my comment, and it goes off of what Miriam was saying, is that and it's more of a comment, unless you can add to this, and that I think many people who sit on council have that wish for sustainable infrastructure. But then when you come to the actual applying developments where the developers are, you know, it's about getting the land stripped and building the houses and not really forward thinking, just getting houses on it. And when you start looking at budget time, you're looking at asset management, you're looking at planning policy and all those things. This space for this to incorporate into those processes often just kind of falls to the wayside. So it's where do we get to that place where this incorporates as part of the process? Yeah, that's.
Okay, if I got that, Madam Chair, this is something that, yeah, it's something that got me in real sense, is you can show it, you can quantify it, and if you show it and quantify it, you can't look away, right? So that's one of my, like, the surgical sort of like, instead of have these big swaths of wetlands that people have to worry about, it's overbaked, and that's never works in anybody's favor, have it very well scientifically defined, and then it's there, the data, and you can say, now shall use this data, and
Right.
it's a dream, but
Yeah.
I think this is the way to get them.
Okay, any other, right.
Just, I guess, a comment to add through you, Madam Chair, is just that one of the things that really got our team, especially the engineers, excited about this is the ability to use and develop land use information, because land use information, as Ian said, it goes into our models, it determines how much flow comes off a certain parcel and whatnot. So to be able to train the software to recognize land use types is tremendous. And I want to highlight the cost, because the way that people are doing it now, and each municipality and conservation authorities kind of classifying land use differently. We're not doing it the same way. So right now, you know, a person looks at an ortho, clicks on the boundaries of a certain cover type. And one of our partner agencies, we won't say who they are, but they shared how much it cost them to get 1 year's ortho sets into, I think it was 6 or 7 classifications. And it was over $100,000 just to get an ortho image into a digital shape file showing those different classifications. So to be able to train the software to recognize that, and once it's trained, you can apply it for, you know, the full area that ortho system covers, and save huge dollars for people that need this information. And I don't know if you mentioned it, Ian, but if we were to expand it to that scale, the thought here is that this data, the end product of land cover, would be open data shared with partners.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to add to that at
Well,
all.
I'm sure. Really, the 3 pillars, that's the efficiency one, which is it's exponentially faster than tracing. And then you deal with user, no matter how good the person, there's always a user error, because this does not, humans didn't evolve to do this for 8 hours a day, right? So, yeah, like it checks a lot of the boxes, and there's a lot of challenges to overcome, you know, but that's the fun of it, so.
Great, so thank you for that. Is there any other last comments or questions?
This presentation will be available online?
Is it already attached there or not?
The presentation is part of our recording, but, can we have that separate?
Yeah, I have the photo credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the motion that we have, that the board of directors receive the staff report and presentation for information. And I have a mover and a seconder for that, please. Moved by Joan, seconded by Lance. Any other last comments? Okay, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on. So next we have correspondence. We have a last minute letter that was attached to the agenda from Michael Henderson. It was an email regarding the Ganaraska Forest and mountain bikes. Okay, so the motion that we have is that the board of directors forward the correspondence to the Ganaraska Forest Recreational Users Committee. We were a seconder for that. Moved by Randy, seconded by Adam. Any questions, comments?
Will there be a note back to Mr. Henderson to say that it has been forwarded to that committee?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes. there will
Okay.
be.
Lance?
Afternoon, everyone. To echo the same sentiments on what was just shared with the presentation, I wanted to share exactly what everyone said. Fantastic presentation, really useful. Speaking to what was just passed right now, more of a comment, but living in Millbrook, I cannot stress how great this the bike race was. The amount of people that it drew to the community, not just the people that came into my wife's store, but just talking to, I took my dog out for a walk and there were just people from all over Southern Ontario. So it was a really great driver. It was really like a really great feedback as well about the forest itself, the conditions of everything. And I just can't say enough good things about the race itself, how the people organizing the race organized the race. And I heard at least a couple of dozen really positive feedbacks on that. And then I know as well, Alex had sent me numerous emails that he could share. So the one you received today would be, we could send numerous other ones. So I just wanted to thank the GRCA for working with the bike club to be able to have this event. And yeah, that was all. Thanks.
Thanks, Lance. That's great to hear. Thank you for sharing that. And Adam.
So through chair to staff, the single tracks. Has there been the single tracks looked at recently to see if there are new ones to be opened up or reopening some of the ones that were open in the past?
through you, Madam Chair, yes, staff are looking at them. They're also going to approach some of the groups, or at least Millbrook, to see if we can work together to get, that is one thing we are working towards, is to get more single track trails, open, because we have been hearing that. And we're at that point where we can move forward with that.
Perfect, thank you.
And Lance,
Sorry, just to speak to what was just stated by Linda. Can it be conceivable that we could maybe put an actionable date on when we can hope to have the single tracks back, or some, just to kind of, not to say that it's like lip service to the users committees, but I think if like we can put something in, obviously it can be a moving target date, but to hear from the GRCA that the expectations would be, spring of 2026 or whatever, instead of just we're having, it's in discussions, I think would maybe behoove the communication dynamic between the users groups and the GRCA. Just my opinion, just sitting on the group.
Through you, Madam Chair, absolutely. The challenge that we're looking at right now is we are still trying to get these agreements in place. And we can work on the trails, but we need to get the agreements with City of Kawartha Lakes, with Cavmonaghan, with the municipality of Port Hope, so that we can, do the crossings. And so Pam has been working with the groups, with the municipalities to get these in place. We are aiming to get some trails open by the spring of 2026, some more, some are open. And we did create a new trail this past season. It was probably not one of the favorite trails that we opened, but it was the easiest for us. So then if you don't use it, it gets overgrown. So, we open a trail and then it gets overgrown, but we are working, and Lance, I understand exactly what you're saying. So I will pass that on to staff, and we will try and set some dates to bring forward. But again, we are working on those agreements as well. And I am trying to get those agreements. I've kind of given my own dates to staff, so I'm hoping that that will happen.
and when would we probably hear, how would we hear those dates? Would that be?
I will see if we can have a report for the November meeting to see how the dates are coming for the agreements, and to get an update on possibly any single track, which will work well in that November is when the chair of the user committee, Bob Gallagher, will be doing his annual report to the board. So maybe I'll be able to have Pam do an update.
Okay.
Okay. I'll make a note of that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments regarding this topic? Okay, so we have our mover and a seconder, so then I will call all in favor. That is carried unanimously. Miriam and Randy, are you guys still good?
Oh, it's an hour?
Fine.
Oh, yeah.
Fine. I'm leaving when you're leaving, because we're going to the same place.
Well, I think we can be fashionably.
Oh, yeah.
Minutes anyway.
We don't have to.
Okay, so moving along, so number 9 is applications under Ontario Regulation 41-24, permits approved by the executive. Remember, we'll mark this time. And anyone else? Margaret. Try to pick different people. Any comments, questions with permits? All right, so I'll ask all in favor. It's carried. And last, committee reports, we do not have any new business. The 2026 preliminary budget and municipal levy, the staff report is attached. Did you want to speak to that?
I can, Madam Chair, through you, Madam Chair. So the preliminary budget was created based on the 3% increase to the levy. And everything was built in, so it's preliminary. includes all of our capital programs that you can see, the floodplain map dates, the GOI, any of the capital programs that involve the municipalities. If they're benefiting, then we always sit down, this is preliminary, we put it out, we sit down with your staff at your municipalities, and we base our final budget, which will come in April, based on your numbers. So these are preliminary, and then it's based on your numbers, but what the process is that it needs to be circulated for 30 days, and it's for the proposed levy. So the letters will go out, you'll be CC'd on them all, each one of you for your municipalities, along with a copy of this budget that can go in. And I've also said this year, I'm emailing them, I've said that they can request a hard copy, but we're trying to get a way of mailing hard copies. But certainly we can do that. So those will get out, then the 30 days will start. And the next board meeting is November 28th, I believe, and that's where the levy vote is taken based on the weighted average. So I didn't receive any further questions on the budget itself, but if you have any questions anytime, please do not hesitate to call.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions or comments at this time? Okay, I'm seeing none. So the motion is that the Board of Directors receive the 2026 preliminary budget for information, and further that the budget be forwarded to the watershed municipalities, indicating in the cover letter that the vote to approve the 2026 levy will be taken at the November 27th, 2025 Board of Directors meeting.
27 or 28, you said 28.
I don't know, whatever the
Whatever it
Thursday
is,
is, it's the Thursday,
Yeah.
so I'll have to,
I got it.
I'll make sure the letters are correctly and that the.
May I have a mover for that motion, please? Moved by Tracy. Seconded by Willie. And I'll ask all in favor. And that is carried. Unanimously. And I don't have any other business. There is no questions for public question period. There is no in camera. So I'm prepared to adjourn the meeting. And remember, do I need a mover?
Yes.
Yes, a mover.
One mover.
One mover?
Yep, that's all.
Randy.
No.